Live in Ketchikan is the only show of its kind dedicated to our town. This is the television show that spotlights all that happens in and around Ketchikan. Live in Ketchikan is your resource for all good things local. Patiently awaiting the bus, it is no longer just a ride around town anymore. In fact, it's a great value. $1 will get you one way anywhere in town. $2 you can ride all day long. They have this handy dandy pass that you can punch for the day, and you can ride all over anywhere you want to go for that $2. Now, if you're a regular rider, you can get an unlimited pass for $25. If you're a student or a senior, you can get that for $20. If you only want to ride for 25 times at any given time, and you're not quite sure when you're going to ride, maybe it's not in that same month, you can pay $20 and get this nice 25 ride pass. However, it's half off if you're a student or a senior. So let's wait. The bus hopefully will be here any minute. So each of the bus stops, and we're right here in front of the Plaza Mall, has this handy dandy schedule saying when the bus is going to arrive. However, studies have shown that if the bus is 2 minutes late, people start to worry, wondering, where's the bus? Did I miss it? Am I here at the right time? Actually, the bus is running 2 minutes late. But what our transit system has put in place, at 10 minutes late, maybe there's a problem, maybe there's a weather condition. The bus drivers automatically start twittering and Facebooking their location, so you can actually check it from your smartphone. And there's even more cool things in store moving forward, so check it out. So we're getting ready to hop on the red line. It's the southbound bus. And our unsuspecting driver has no idea that we're getting ready to get on. So come on. So there's actually several different ways that you can ride the bus, which makes it accessible for a number of different folks. You can stand if it's really crowded and hold on to the handles like I am, or if you're handicapped and you have a wheelchair, these seats right here fold up to make the bus accessible for everyone. In addition, up front, the bus actually lowers down by 4 inches to allow everyone access to the bus. Heck, you can even put your bike on the front. So if you're curious to know where your next bus stop is, or in fact, where the bus is, you can always download one of these brochures off the Borough website. However, there's some even cooler stuff coming down the line. The transit system has gone through and Google Earth every single bus stop. So you'll be able to take your smartphone, or perhaps a computer at the bus stop will show you in real time exactly where the bus is, because plans are to GPS each and every bus.
Why do you ride the bus?
It's quick and easy to get to the places that I really need to get to, and I don't get wet.
That's a good reason. That's why I'm on the bus today, make sure I
make it to all the appointments and everything else, being able to go grocery shopping.
Besides, you get to see the scenic route.
Oh, it's always beautiful. That was the first thing that I really got to see the most, was when we went on the bus that first time, and you pointed out those eagles and everything. It was, oh.
Was that the first time you were actually on the bus? I didn't realize that.
Yeah, first time. Especially going out that far. I've only been in like downtown area. I've never went out to areas that you could have actual scenery.
Well, it runs all the way out to the homestead and clear out to Totem Pike, so it covers pretty much the island.
I definitely want to be able to go and do some more exploring.
So right now it's April, and historically one time per year there has been a ride-free month, which is super cool for locals, and that's exactly why it was in April this year. Last year it was in May, which benefited the tourists, but we want people to ride the bus year-round, and that means locals. There's some exciting things happening beginning May 7th. The blue line, which means north, blue is cold, that means north, red is hot, that means south, and green goes up in the trees. Easy way to remember your bus lines. But the really cool thing is beginning May 7th, the blue line will be going on the weekends all the way out to Totem Pike. How handy is that if you need to get into town on the weekends? We're headed up to Fawn Mountain right now, which is a great thing for our students and our athletes and anyone else that wants to go out and use the beautiful new facility at Fawn Mountain. You can catch the bus at Fawn Mountain and head back into town, or just come out here and watch a game. That is a bargain. wasn't quite sure where we're going, so I'm referring to the map. We've done the southbound loop around Fawn Mountain. Now we're headed back into town through Saxman, and ultimately, if we were to stay on this bus, we'd end up at Walmart. So you literally can cover the entire town for like $1 or $2 if you want to get off multiple times. Some interesting rules when riding the bus, and to me they're common sense, but I'm hearing from some of the regulars that maybe some folks maybe take these rules into their own rule book, if you will. For example, you should watch the odors that you bring on the bus. You should also not bring animals. Sorry, we don't serve coffee, tea, or food. None of that is allowed, no beverages. And in general, it's really important when you're riding the bus, because this is a great convenience, to just be polite to others. All right, no gas cans. Imagine that. People have moved their house on the bus. Clearly they like riding the bus if you're gonna move your house. I'm not sure if they can exactly fit a recliner out here, but many boxes, I guess. Another really cool thing to think about when using our transit system is the buses generally come around every hour. So you could literally, if you're new in town, say take a bus out to Saxman, have lunch in the park, and you could get to know almost all the parks, given that they go out to Totem Bite and everywhere in between. Go out for $1, enjoy a picnic lunch, see the sights, hop back on, and then maybe do the same thing the next day. So maybe you don't have a smartphone, but you still want to know when the bus is coming. Surely there's a lot of really neat things in the pipeline for the borough and our bus system. But if you have a regular phone and you get worried and you're not sure where the bus is, you can dial 511. Your call will be routed directly to a dispatcher right here in Ketchikan. It's a statewide service.
I have a van sitting at home, but I don't drive in. It's cheaper to take the bus. You add up your gas, your insurance.
And for those that don't,
It's cheaper to get a bus pass for a month.
and those that don't have the money to afford that, it's nice, especially for myself, because I moved up here from Arizona, and I can't afford to be able to transfer everything because it's just so tough. So knowing that the bus is a lot cheaper than having to pay for all that, it is a lot easier.
You can cover the island on the bus.
For half the cost of what you're having to pay for all that stuff. The upkeep, the wear and tear, everything on a vehicle. It's cheaper just taking the bus.
And in the summer with the summer traffic and all
yes.
the buses, the tour buses, it's easier to get around on the bus than take your own vehicle.
The Ketchikan Gateway Borough has made an excellent investment in these buses. Imagine that they are on the road for 16 to 18 hours a day. The last bus, the old bus, lasted over 850,000 miles. But these are truly the Cadillacs of buses. Anyone can get on this bus. So with that being said, if you are maybe carrying a lot of packages or you have trouble getting on the bus, it will automatically lower that down. Now, the drivers have told me that they pretty much just do this at every stop as a common courtesy. Now, what if you're on a scooter? What if you're on a wheelchair? There's another really cool feature too, and you too can ride the bus. So if I were in a wheelchair or on a scooter, all I'd have to do is roll right up here and you're ready to go on the bus. Now, another really convenient thing about riding the bus right here in Ketchikan is if you're a bike rider, all you have to do is, let's say you get tired or maybe you just need to stop somewhere, all you have to do is lift up your bike at the bus stop and put it on here, just like so. There's a handy lever over here, goes right up over the tire, and you're ready to rock and roll on the bus with your bike. Now, all sorts of people like to ride the bus. A lot of folks like to sit just like I'm doing right now. However, during tourist season, if it's really crowded, you also have the option of standing and holding onto one of these straps. Let's say you came on board with a wheelchair. This seat right here very easily folds up, and you can be right here, riding in comfort as well. If you're on the bus, it's also really important to be courteous to your fellow passengers. Please don't use profanity, definitely don't smoke, no alcoholic beverages, and refrain from bringing odd objects like gasoline cans or anything that could be dangerous to your fellow riders on board. And remember, when riding the Blue Line, your seat cushions are not inflatable, there are no oxygen masks, there's exits to the front and to the rear, but not on the sides. Thanks for flying Blue Line. So Andrea, you've been a bus driver for how long? Because you're the lead. It must take a long time to get to be lead.
Well, I've been driving the bus for over 9 years now.
Wow, that's cool.
Yes, it is cool.
Hey, what's your favorite part about the job?
The people.
Yeah, they're really neat.
The people. And you meet all kinds of people, of course, from everywhere in the summer.
Now, you know, you were mentioning, because you have been a bus driver for 9 years, and I also heard some of the other patrons mention that the transit system has really come a long way.
It has.
What are some of the biggest differences that you have noted lately?
Well, lately?
Yeah, or just in your time?
Well, yeah. When I started, there was 2 green lines. That was the extent of the bus, and it ran in the city limits only.
Oh, wow.
And it has come a long way. Now we go 10 miles north, we go 5 miles south of town, and get to service a lot more people.
Yeah,
You know?
definitely.
Yes,
And there's some really cool changes coming down the pipeline, too.
there is.
I think that's
No.
going to be great. Tell me about
Yes.
some of those things.
Oh, it's been wonderful. The people in the North End are so thrilled that they're going to have bus service on the weekends. They've been waiting a long time,
Yeah, I think so, too.
and I think it's great. And plus the fact that we're going to have a lot more people going to Totem Bite on the bus.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
You know?
And the whole thing about the possibility of possibly getting GPSs in the buses and just all of the new kind of technology that's
Oh,
come
absolutely,
about.
yeah. There's so many things out there now that we never had before.
So I got to ask this question. Maybe you can, maybe you can't answer. What is the strangest thing that has ever happened to you while driving this bus?
While driving this bus, maybe when some man couldn't wait until we got to Totem Bite and he needed to use the restroom. So he reached over and grabbed the wastebasket, stepped over here by the door and used the wastebasket.
How embarrassing. Oh my gosh. Now, do you have regulars? I mean, do you like know their name?
Oh,
and
absolutely.
everything?
Yes,
That's
I do.
great.
I know most of them, you know, their first name. I don't know their last name, but
Well, and I got to ask you, you know, it seems like the bus has become so hip and cool lately, and so many new changes coming through the pipeline. Do you see a lot of new faces riding the bus?
I do. A lot of them are just parking their cars because of the price of gas and because they want to go green.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
You know?
Are they younger? Are you seeing younger people, or are you seeing older people, or a big mix of a little bit of everything?
I already saw an awful lot of the older people, but we're getting a lot more younger people. I'm saying somewhere between 20 and 40.
Oh, wow.
And that's great, you know? It's nice to see.
Plus, you can put the bikes on the front, so that's super
Exactly.
cool. I like that a
Exactly.
lot. I like that a lot. Now, this month was Ride Free Month,
Right.
April.
Right.
And so this is going to be airing in May, so it is no longer Ride Free Month. You must pay that hefty $1 if you want to go one way. I would buy the monthly pass, though. So in April, did you just see this explosion of ridership?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It jumps all the time. This happens. You know, they just look forward to it.
That's great. That's great. Well, hey, thank you so much. I know we're like getting you on your off time, so thanks so much.
It's
and
okay.
we will ride with you again.
Good.
Thanks.
Do come ride.
We will.
Okay?
There's a lot of exciting things happening with our transit department right here locally in Ketchikan. And one of those things are these brand new shelters. Now, we're here at the new shelter that was built at Berth 4. Now, the interesting story behind this shelter was that they were originally budgeted for $25,000 per shelter. Now, according to Kyan Reeves up at Transit, this shelter could have been purchased outside, which is typically done with the transit department, and it would have run very, very close to $25,000, with almost none of that money being spent locally right here in Ketchikan. Instead, they decided to get creative, which seems to be the trend in our transit department, and build this locally so that it would not only have the flavor of Ketchikan, but keep the money right here in our town. Now, by doing that, they incorporated local welders, local carpenters, they designed it locally, and spent significantly less than the $25,000 originally budgeted for this. I think it's a great looking shelter. plans are to build brand new shelters out at Totem Bite, Saxman, as well as a few other locations, with those other shelters being completed by the summer of 2012. What's really nice about this Berth 4 roundabout, as you can see, it's a very nice paved round road in which the bus can easily pull up at the bus stop and pick up passengers. Now, out at the ferry pickup, the bus has to actually pull in an opposite way, and people have to walk in front or behind the bus, which causes somewhat of an accident factor. Plans are and hopes are that the borough can obtain grant funding from DOT and others to reverse the traffic in that ferry roundabout to make it look just very similar to what I'm standing in right here, which would make it easier for people to load on the ferry with their own personal vehicles, as well as passengers to be picked up by our local bus. You may think a small town like Ketchikan doesn't have a big transit system. The opposite is true. Actually, over the past 5 years, ridership has risen annually by up to 20%. Now, the transit department put together a very specific graph, and what they did was they followed the number of riders versus the number of cruise ships that came in per day. There's a distinct increase in the number of riders. In fact, up to 1,600 riders per day when there's 5 cruise ships in town. With this increase in ridership being so significant during the tourist season, they were able to apply for and receive CVB funding. Now, what that means is that the 2 buses that are dedicated specifically to tourists will be able to access the dock. They're not the big buses like you'll see tooling around town on a regular basis year-round, but they'll be shorter buses, and that will actually benefit our local retail business and our tours. With that increase in ridership, the Transit Bureau was able to apply for and receive special CVB funding. That was approved actually at the Borough Assembly meeting last Monday. Now, we're in late April right now. Beginning May 7th, there will be funding for 2 specific buses to be able to access the docks and take tourists around town using our local transit system. What does that mean? Why are we serving the tourists with our own transit system? That will directly benefit our local businesses and our local tours and be one extra reason a tourist would like to come to Ketchikan. We're here in what appears to be a garage, but you do pull the buses in here occasionally, right?
We sure do. Yeah, this is our garage for both the transit system and the public works. We do the vehicle maintenance for the public works department as well in here. So we've got 3 bays and that can accommodate the larger buses, and we have a couple smaller ones. But we do bring the buses right in here, and our hopes are actually to right in this bay that we're standing in right here to add some bus washing equipment so that we get our buses looking good, easier.
Because it's important. You guys are on the road hours and hours a day. You put like 850,000 miles on a bus in its lifetime, if you will. And we have tourists that are coming to town. In fact, Disney's coming for the first time this year. New people seeing Ketchikan every day. So it's kind of important for the buses to look good. It's raining sideways out there. I wouldn't be washing my car out there. So is this why you're going to have the interior kind of bus washing bay in here?
Exactly, yeah. Originally, we'd hoped to add a brand new bay, but we're trying to kind of see the grant funds that are available and local revenues that are available go further. So what we're looking at right now is, rather than looking at the expense of building an outer bay, is to look at some solutions that actually allow us to clean the bus without bothering a lot of the other stuff in here. So essentially the bus will come in, we'll have a curtain system that kind of goes around the bus, and then like a car wash that you see down south with those large brushes spinning around, they'll essentially be one of those, and you'll just kind of push around it like a lawnmower, and it will just kind of enclose the brush. And in fact, it doesn't get any of our tools or anything wet around it, is the plan. So that's kind of what we're hoping to do initially. Maybe down the road, if there's a need for more space, we might look at that, shifting that equipment to another building. But for now, we're going to try to make it work right in this bay.
So help me to understand something. You know, the buses are catching grime, grit, all sorts of things. Plus, they have their regular mechanical stuff. I mean, explain to me right now all of the steps that you guys have to do when you have to wash the buses outside.
Right now, well, we're of course required to wash the buses over oil water separators to meet EPA requirements. Currently, we can do that either in here because we do have an oil water separator right over there. But currently, we wash the buses down by the tennis courts, the old tennis courts across from Schoenbar Junior High, where we do have an oil water separator in. But it is very important for us to maintain them. We need to get the FTA, the federal government wants to make sure that we get 10 years or so out of the buses and 500,000 miles at least. So for us, it's important to get underneath them, wash underneath all the outsides. We want to make sure the windows are clean so our customers can enjoy the view when they're riding. So it's just it's critical for obviously for the maintenance of it. And as you can see on our buses, it takes just an hour or two, and they can look terrible. So
yeah, exactly, depending upon the weather.
Yeah, exactly.
But I'm seeing in the past year, maybe I've just noticed it, but there are a lot more people riding the bus. What's the ridership? Has it gone up? What's that percentage?
Yeah, we've been really fortunate. It's been stepping up probably the last 4 or 5 years by as much as 20% a year. So we're up to about 315 or 20,000 this year, and just a couple years ago we were half that. So yeah, it's jumping up real quick, and we're real excited this year to be adding some route extensions and some increasing our schedule a little bit. So
absolutely,
we're really happy about that.
Okay, now trick question, maybe not,
no.
but I've been here one other time, and it was on a beautiful sunny day, and there was a very largely unknown person by the name of Mr. Ray Troll painting a bus in here. Now, a little bird told me that you guys are maybe getting 2 more buses and have similar plans?
We are, and we're excited about that too. We have 2 more buses that are going to be coming early next year, probably maybe by the end of this year or very early next year. And so what we've asked is to not have them put the paint job on at the factory.
Okay.
And that way we'll be able to do our own painting here. And so we'll save some money there and have some artists do it again. We'll probably go through work with the Ketchikan Area Arts and Humanities Council, KPAW, to have them help us decide what, who would be a good candidates for doing the buses. I've certainly heard some interest by several prominent local artists that have shared their interest to do some. So there'll be 2 more with hopefully some really cool graphics on the outside.
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me this, when an artist, and I don't know, maybe I could be skewing the whole process, but say you have 5 artists who say, all right, I really want to be one of the bus painters. Do they submit kind of a rendition of what they're envisioning? And if they do, does the public have any input in on that? Like, so-and-so got 80 votes? And
yeah, the way that we had done it the last time is we issued an RFP to get proposals from people with concepts. We wanted to have a salmon run theme.
Right.
That was a great concept that was actually thrown out by one of our drivers, Carol Naranjo, several years ago. Suggested that, and so we thought that was a wonderful idea. We saw some graphics out there. There's lots of salmon graphics and art out there. Obviously, many different artists in the community have done a lot of salmon-inspired stuff. Ray Troll, obviously, being a huge one. He shared with us his proposal and prepared a kind of a budget for it.
Right.
And he, as I recall, I think he may have been the only respondent in our initial RFP.
Okay.
But I know there's been a lot of interest since, and so I would imagine that in the next go around we'll see several artists, I imagine, proposing options. Now, in terms of the public seeing it, this time we think we may do it slightly differently, going through the Ketchikan Area Arts and Humanities Council, because they really, with their subcommittee, KPAW, have really been playing a larger role in the selection process. So I imagine there's a public input in that, but I'm not sure exactly how that works.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay, now I took an opportunity to ride the bus. Super fun, very enjoyable, met lots of neat people, and it was, of course, busy. And we also talked about how the bus can be ridden by folks maybe that have a handicap, maybe they're in a wheelchair, and all the neat things, the bus goes up and down 4 inches, and it was just great. But there's also an additional service that is available for folks that maybe aren't going to ride that particular bus. Can you share a little bit with me about that?
Yeah. One of the things that transit entities like ours and other communities around the state are required, and across the country I should say, are required to provide is a paratransit service. And that's a service that's open to ADA eligible riders. And that's something that we're required to provide 3/4 of a mile outside of including our service area, but then a 3/4 of a mile on either sides and at the ends
Oh, wow.
of our service area. So, and it's to follow both our route and our schedule. So we through a contract with Southeast Senior Services, provide that mirroring our current route and schedule.
Oh, okay.
And so basically, there's service for those folk, point to point. For example, if you're at Lighthouse or whatever, you can.
And that would be on the north end, right?
That would be on the
Okay.
north end. You could, if you were eligible, could get a ride to another location. Now, through a lot of support from AARP and through also the Borough Assembly, there has been also the decision to provide that same level of service to the seniors within the community,
Oh,
and
neat.
so there's also senior service available through areas including the airport,
Oh, great.
and those are available for low to no cost. So
Okay, so I'm grandma, and I'm thinking, wow, this is great. I'm watching this show.
Yeah.
Who do I call to find out more about this?
You would call Southeast Senior Services at 225-6575.
Okay.
And it basically is good to get a hold of them at least a day in advance. The requirement for paratransit is a day in advance.
Okay.
They try to obviously accommodate people as best they can, but the contract that we have with them stipulates a day in advance.
Oh,
call.
okay.
Yeah, and I should mention too that you can go to our website at the Borough and take a look there. There's more information on that. But on the weekends, the dispatch time is much smaller. It's just for basically about an hour every day. So if you're in need of a ride over the weekend, it's best to do that during weekdays. Call in on
Right.
weekdays.
So let's clarify. You don't call an hour ahead of time to get your ride.
Absolutely.
But they may only be carrying people around for an hour. Say, I'm just making this up, like say from 12 to 1 or from 2 to 3 or whatever time that may be. So call during the week to set that up for the weekend, or try and do your traveling during the week, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
excellent. Well, is there anything else new and exciting? I mean, we rode the bus, we talked about all the cool
Right.
things that are coming along. And tell me a little bit about the graph. Now, you guys got some great grant funding recently, and you shared with me a graph about the ridership. Now, I bring this up because we're just beginning the tourist season here, and there's been some great changes that we've kind of followed throughout this show. When you made the case for those funds, those tourism funds, tell me about how the tourism-related ridership related to our regular local ridership.
Certainly, yeah. It was really interesting for us to look at the correlation between cruise passengers and their impact on our system. And I know if you ask any of our passengers, they'll be the first to tell you, wow, it gets packed
And
on
they
these
did.
buses. And
They
it gets
did.
packed on these buses, and they're of course wonderful and welcoming to the visitors, but at the same time, it's standing room only on our buses when those ships are in. So what we did is we just kind of analyzed, because we know exactly how many people ride the bus on a daily basis, and we know exactly how many people came into the community on a daily basis throughout the summer. So we just kind of compared those and threw them on a graph, and it was very, very clear, and we can provide that graphic, but it's very, very clear just to see the growth on a daily basis, and it just fluctuates perfectly with the number of ships / visitors that are in. So it'd range from about 900 passengers on a day where there's no ships or a very small ship, and then depending on the number of ships and passengers, we'd get up to about 1,400 passengers per
cow.
day. So there was quite a hike, and so it was very clear for us to be able to request cruise ship head tax funding, as other communities around the state have done. But it's for us will be a wonderful way to see some of that money that's coming in from the cruise ship passengers, and see that shift into the rest of the community as well, and benefit the rest of the community. We're clearly benefiting the cruise passengers very well. We also do, I should mention, we're adding a second loop for the cruise passengers this year. So we actually have 2 of our routes that are designed specifically for the cruise ship passengers, and that will bring them throughout the downtown and through several heritage sites and things like that. So we're definitely geared for the cruise ship passenger.
Okay, to me this is all really amazing because I came from a larger metropolitan area a few years ago here in here in Ketchikan, and they had this rockin' metro system, transit. It was all really cool, and they were doing great things. But I'm seeing you doing very similar things, and we're not that big.
Yeah.
How many? Tell me, what does Ketchikan compare to another Alaskan community in size and transit services that are provided? Because I don't see a whole lot of people running around here in terms of staff.
Right. Yeah. Well, as far as staff goes, we're definitely running a tight ship. We're probably much less than other places, a third or so in terms of staff. So we're trying to do a lot more with a lot less, for sure.
Well, good for you.
Yeah. No, we're definitely doing that. We're proud of what we've been able to do, and we do think of it as a big opportunity if we can to move forward and bring in a lot more money in the community. And transit's interesting because it is really an economic development engine. It moves people around the community. It moves people to retail. It moves people to restaurants in the evenings, movies. It gets them to school, to work, and it does it at a pretty economical way. So we're excited about those opportunities. As far as us comparing to other communities, places like Fairbanks, who are 7 times our population, they see just a little bit more ridership than we do. Last year, Fairbanks saw about 380,000 rides, and we're close to 320,000 rides. Again, seventh the population. And if you look at their budget, if you look at the number of staff that they have, we're a fraction of all that, but still providing great service and a great number of rides. So I think we compare pretty well to other communities. And as far as being out on the cutting edge, you mentioned some of your experiences down south. One of the things we're really excited about right now is we have been given the verbal commitment. We still need to get assembly support on it, but we've been given verbal commitment for some grant funds to pay for a passenger information system. We'd be the first in the state to have this level of technology. Anchorage People Mover has a pretty good one, but I think ours would be taking it to the next step. And what that will allow is, I think, a wonderful thing for our customers, but it will do lots of things. One of them is we'll have digital signage in a lot of the locations showing exactly when the next bus will be coming and the second bus after that. There'll be some neat tools like a phone number at the bus stops where a passenger can simply call in to to our phone system and enter in the phone or the bus stop number and get information about when the next bus is coming. For the people who I know, people are doing a lot of text messaging these days. There's a way for them to text message our system, and they'll get a response back of a text message. It gives them options like, say a mechanical happens after they request their text message, they can request that another text would come mentioning that a mechanical or some other issue has impacted the route. So that's going to, I think, really make it easier for people to ride the bus knowing exactly when it's coming. One of the really interesting things that just came out yesterday, I had a discussion with Lee Wallace, who's the transportation coordinator out Saxman. They're trying to get some bus stops near some of their senior housing areas, and we were talking about shelters and the cost of shelters and things like that. But what this signage thing will allow us to do is where they'll be able to just put a little internet connected screen inside their lobby, which they've already paid for, and the seniors or whoever happens to be at any other location can just sit there and see when the next bus is coming within a minute or two. And so rather than having to afford a shelter out on the corner right there, we'll be able to put a very, very low cost computer, $250 computer in there that's kind of piggybacking on their internet, so it doesn't even need its own connection to the internet, but it will be able to get that real-time information, and then the person will be able to just walk out to the bus stop in time to get right on the bus without needing to afford a $20,000+ shelter out there.
Very cool. So clearly very exciting things happening. If there's a person at home that's watching this right now, they've never ridden the bus, maybe they're new to the community, what would be the one thing that you would tell them about our bus system to get them to ride it?
Boy,
Here's your quick question, right?
That's a great question.
Not like you don't have enough going on already.
Yeah, well, I would just say that it's a wonderful way to, number one, if you cut your own costs. When you look at our gas prices, well over $4 a gallon right now. When you think about there's a lot of benefits. I mean, there's environmental benefits, obviously, of riding the bus, but I think more than anything, it's to help that pocketbook when you can. But I think there's also some neat things about it for those of you out there, you know, that have work and you want that downtime. I've heard so many people say that it's really wonderful to get on, to just let your mind be free and not have to think about driving in the rain. Kind of let us do that. You can hop on, check your emails, sip your coffee, whatever for the day, and enjoy your ride into work. So I would hope that people will give it a try and you know, leave your car home a day or two a week. That'd be great.
Well, that was fun. Thank
Yeah.
you so much.
Thanks
We
very much.
enjoyed riding,
Yeah.
and I definitely plan on doing it again.
Great. Thanks so much.